Call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Ferreira to do the AOK Awards.
So we're going to do the AOK Awards first, and I'm taking over for Mr. Carpentieri because us and the board gave them the night off since we met last week. So first I would like to call up Chloe Babcock. All right, you're gonna have to stand. All right, now this was from Vanessa McWilliams. And she said, in art, Chloe was observed happily helping her classmates with their projects. Chloe willingly helped others while positively encouraging them and complimenting their work. So you did an awesome job. Thank you. Congratulations. So do we have Aiden Baisley? All right, Aiden. Here you go. Now this is from Miss Swinford and Miss Martell. It says, during recess, a third grade student was crying and upset because no one would play with him. These boys, and it was Aiden and Jules Shaw, these boys took it upon themselves to approach the student and find what he wanted to play. They took their recess time to play tag with this student. That's awesome. Congratulations. I have Miss Aubrey Troxel. Now this was given actually a sub, turned an AOK award in, and she said she stayed in the library to straighten out the mess of computers, mice, and all the headphones after their classmates left, and she really appreciated the help, so thank you. Good job, Aubrey. We have Miss Mullen. So Miss Mullen is tireless in helping out with Odyssey of the Mind. So Miss Burrows-Wood gave you an AOK award because she donates her time all the time at Mackenzie. She is always there, and Odyssey of the Mind is a lot of work. So we do appreciate everything. Thank you. Do we have Isla Still? Isla. I am so sorry, Isla. I apologize. So, Miss Steele. Hold on, Miss Steele.
Running around.
If Aubrey had to wait, you have to wait. So it was also turned in by the same sub, and her and Aubrey, again, stayed after class to straighten out all the computers, all the mice, the headphones, and you really helped her out, so we do appreciate that.
I wish I had half the ambition these kids have.
So I have Caitlin Smith. No. I have Alexander Neri. Or Jules Shaw. So for those students that aren't here tonight, we will make sure they get these at school. We do truly appreciate all the hard work you put into Mackenzie and helping it make a great place, because kindness is priceless. So we do thank you. And thank you, parents, for coming.
How's Liana doing?
She's good. She's on the DC trip.
And
okay.
Nothing was going to stop her.
Good.
And we did get a picture. They got a great group shot. Everybody in their t-shirts, everybody's having fun. And I did get a video of several 8th graders doing the electric slide. Yes, she was.
With a busted collarbone. All right, at this time, like I always say, you guys want to stay and be bored and listen to us, and don't worry, you will not embarrass us or anything. You feel free to leave. Are they AOK award?
No.
You're not.
No.
You don't have to make a report, Destiny. If you don't want, unless you want to.
He's like, no, I'm good,
I'll
thanks.
leave it up to you. You good? All right. All right, this time I will turn the presentation of the budget hearing over to Mr. Russell.
Okay, where do I have to start? Okay. All right. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Education of the Eldred Central School District will hold a budget hearing at the Junior Senior High School Gymnasium, 600 Route 55, Eldred, New York, in said district on Thursday, May 4th, 2023 at 6 p.m. prevailing time, for the purpose of discussion of the expenditure of funds and the budgeting thereof proposed by the Board of Education for the school year, July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. Notice is given pursuant to Section 1716 of the Education Law that a copy of the statement of the amount of money, which may be required for the following year for school purposes, exclusive of public money, and the real property tax exemption report will be annexed to any budget of which it forms a part and may be obtained by any resident in the school district at the district office, 600 Route 55, Eldred, New York, and at each of the 3 following school buildings in the district: the Eldred Junior Senior High School, George Ross Mackenzie Elementary School, and the Sunshine Free Hall Library. We just need to add that in there. During the 14 days immediately preceding the annual budget vote and election between the hours of 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. prevailing time, other than a Saturday, Sunday, or a holiday, together with the text of any resolution to be presented to the voters and will be available on the district website. A copy of the detailed statement of estimated expenditures will also be made available at the budget hearing to be held May 4th, 2023. We do have one copy of it. If anybody wants a copy, we can make it. And it is available on our website already. It was put up several days ago. All right. So, getting into the presentation, I just added a couple slides to the budget presentation that I gave to the board last week. I started out, we want to continue growth, support in all academic areas, provide the students with a safe, high-quality learning environment, continue to support growth in regards to students' mental health and well-being, and support educators, provide a robust professional development program, ensure the continued fiscal health of the district. That maybe should be tied number 1 up there, actually. Be mindful of the impact of tax increases on district residents, and all budget decisions are made with these objectives in mind. Okay, so the program highlights. So next year, what's in our budget? Well, for starters, everything that was in there last year, we're rolling over to this year. Things that we're continuing that are relatively new is there's a new self-contained 811 program that'll be starting next year. This is going to allow us to bring back students from the district who are currently placed outside at Sullivan County BOCES. And it will also allow us to keep at least 2 students that we're aware of that would otherwise have to be sent out of district. So it comes at a savings, significant savings. If for whatever reason this program doesn't work out, we would find other areas for that personnel right now, but this doesn't cause any additional cost. It offsets the cost that we have currently. We're going to continue the increased number of activities at the elementary school. This year, I believe we had almost 40 clubs. We're going to continue that going forward. Clubs are generally not very expensive. They're good bang for your buck. 40 clubs, it sounds like a ton, but the total cost of 40 clubs is about $12,500 for the entire year. Teachers get a $256 stipend to do a 6-week club. It's a passion project, so teacher gets a little something, but in general, they do it because it's something they're interested in doing and they want to do it for the kids because it's really not a ton of money. The college program at the junior senior high school, that started this year. So if you started in 9th grade this year, you will have a chance to get and correct me if I'm wrong, this year was the first year that our new coming students will have a chance to leave with an associate's degree. We're going to continue doing that. That is something that I don't foresee ever going away if it works out nicely. And entry into the Tri-States program, that's budgeted in here as well. Last year we were emeritus members, so we didn't have to pay anything to be part of it. Now it is about, was it 9,000 or 6,000? 9,000. It's 9,000. Well, I budgeted more than that because you also have to send people to go to the Tri-States and programs like that. So we have a pretty robust professional development program right now because we are implementing so many new programs over the last few years. We've implemented Really Great Reading is a new ELA program we've been using. This was 3 years ago, Amplify Science. We have HMH Math, and we have a new we do have a new social studies program as well. So with these new programs, you need to give professional development to the teachers to make sure that they're actually implementing them properly, and it's been working out very well. Our test scores came back pretty good this year, and hopefully we continue that. So this is the breakdown kind of where our revenue comes from. So 3.7% is the tax cap this year. We did have to go to the tax cap. Important to note that of the 3.7%, 1% is getting eaten up by new businesses. So 1% of it doesn't come from people who are already paying taxes. It'll go towards the mostly new buildings up in the Highland Lake area. State aid, they're not really giving us any extra money, and they're going to continue to not give us extra money. We have a really weird kind of demographic where you have a lot of people up in the estates areas that are wealthy, and then the way that they determine your wealth is they take the total number of students, the total land value, and they divide it by those students, and then they compare it to the rest of the state. So we have $1,314,000 worth of real estate per student. So if enrollment goes down, and it didn't go down this time, but if enrollment goes down, that number goes up. And it's a blessing to have something big come onto the tax rolls, but if it does, obviously you get wealthier. So next year, for instance, the Millennium Pipeline is going to go on. $20 million worth of pipeline is going to move on to the tax rolls. We have 478 kids, but let's say 500 just for easy math here. So you take that out, and you're looking at right around $40,000 in real estate property value is going to go on per student. So the state's going to look, they're going to say, we're going to give you a little bit less money for your transportation, your BOCES, and your building aid. But we're going to give you a little bit more in foundation aid, and then it looks like this. Just tiny. It ends up washing.
But some of that will be offset by the additional taxes that we'll be collecting.
Correct. Well, that's the reason. Yeah, I guess that was a long-winded way of me saying that's unfortunately why we had to go to the cap. We haven't gone to the cap in almost since we first started here. I think 17, 18 was the last time we went to the cap.
5 years ago.
But it was tough this year because they're really not giving us any extra state aid. The other is just interest, pilots, which is people who got IDA program stuff, and the biggest portion of this is actually a BOCES refund. So BOCES charges you more than what it's actually cost to do a BOCES program, and then at the end, whatever's left over, they're not allowed to keep a fund balance. They have to refund it to the school districts. So that's the biggest portion. But the reason for the increase is interest. We're making a lot more interest. We should make almost $200,000 this year. But it has to get allocated to the fund that you earned the interest in. So some of it's going to go to the capital projects fund, some of it's going to go into cafeteria, and then some of it will go into reserves. This is how much extra I think is going to go into our general operating fund. And then down here, we're using a little bit less in reserves. The only reserves we really use is when we have a reserve for paying out retirement benefits. So that's what I'm using the reserves for. This should cover the 4 people that are out and what we have to pay out for them. So this number will vary basically kind of on retirements. And overall, the budget is going up 2.75%. So it's not going up 3.7, but because that's the biggest portion and I'm not really getting much extra elsewhere, that's where we had to kind of eat it up. School taxes, this is what it will most likely look like. There's a lot of factors that kind of get put into that, so it's hard for me to say what's going to happen to your individual house. In Highland and Lumberland, and it's just so tough. So a home assessed in the equalization rate right now in Highland is 64%. So if it's assessed at 150, it's about a $250,000 house. So that's kind of how I did this. So if you own a house that you would have purchased, if I went and bought a house for $250,000 in Highland, my taxes will go up $63 next year. Deer Park and Tustin are a little higher, but see, and it's apples to oranges is tough because their equalization rate's like 33%. So if you have a home assessed at $150,000 in Tustin, it's like a $350,000 house. So it looks like you're paying more, but you're kind of not. And on a side note on that, just if anybody's interested, or the equalization rates, Lumberlands is not out yet, and I'm hoping, praying, that it's the same equalization rate as Highland, because Highland went from 72 down to 64, and Deer Park went from 43 down to 37, Tustin went from 38 down to 33, so they all went down by between 5 and 8%, which is a good thing actually, believe it or not, because if they all go down about the same, then this stays kind of stable. But if, say, Highlands goes from 72 down to 64, and Lumberland's goes from 72 to, say, 68, Highland's going to see a big tax increase, and Lumberland's going to see a big tax decrease. Because this is by far where almost all of our property is. So I'm hoping, they usually do go down the same. So they were 100 3 years ago, and now they're like 72 and 64 this year. But Lumberland's hasn't come out yet. It's the only one we're waiting on. Revenues as a percentage I gave last time, almost all of our money comes between state aid and property taxes. That's like 95% of our money. And state aid stayed flat, which is unfortunately why I have to go to the cap this year. This is how the cap gets calculated. This is the amount that is due to the growth in your district. So this is the one, if you want to know how much you could raise taxes by 0.98%, and most people's bills should be exactly the same as last year. So that's the portion, that's what I was talking about when I say it really hits you 2.7. And then there's some stuff with how the pilots, this exemptions, this is how a bond hits, right? So if you let a bond drop off, what'll end up happening is this will get taken out, but it won't get added back in because there's no new bond. So that's where you'd end up with a negative tax cap. Or if the bond is way more than it used to be, state aid does play a role on this because you have to subtract your building aid and your transportation aid from there. But mostly that's your debt exclusions. Expenses, general support went up. I can tell you that part of this is actually just a big portion of it is from energy costs, but another portion is just actually how we classified certain employees. So in the past, we put all of our employees in non-instructional and instructional. So we had, I'll give you an example. So clerical employees are not considered instructional. We had the part-time clerical people in the non-instruction line of the instructional part of the budget, which isn't where they belong. And how they make you allocate people's employee benefits in here is proportion to salary. So I moved some salary from here into here, which I felt was where it really always should have been. And then that moved effectively their employee benefits up to here too. Transportation, 2%. Employee benefits, that's the biggest, piece of the pie there. That increased, and these are fairly negligible, and we don't really have much control over them. But we're more or less maintaining the programs that we had last year. There isn't any massive new initiative that we're taking going into this coming year. We're going to kind of evaluate certain savings that we might have with retirees, but I don't like to jump and spend money the second that we may or may not have it, because I really don't know how this year is going to play out. So we'll kind of see what we've got to play with at the end of this year. Plus you've got a bunch of COVID grants dropping, so some of that money might be used to continue programs that we want to keep. This is just the breakdown. 23% on employee benefits, 49% on instruction, so that's virtually 80% of our budget. Debt's the other 8, so now you're up to 88%. So between debt, instruction, and employee benefits, that's almost 90% of your budget. Transportation is another decent piece of the pie. And general support is your admin, your buildings, and all that kind of stuff, cleaning, maintenance. Mostly benefits and energy. Health insurance is going up a lot, workers' compensation is going up a lot, ERS, TRS, which is your retirement programs, they're going up a fair amount. The related services went up a little bit, and enough for me to put it on here. It was right around 120,000. Related services are things like psychologists and social workers, OT, PT. We have in-house psychologists, but the OT and PT is what we contract out. We used to spend about 100, now we're up to like 160, 170,000, so that was a big bump. And then career and tech, which is good, but costs. We now have more students in VOTEC than we've had in the past. So we're averaging 31 students where we were doing around 24, 25, and it's about 15,000 a student. So, an extra 8 students is $120,000, which is a good thing, by the way. We are not, I think it's been a little bit of a disservice in the past where education was college only, And that's not necessarily the only path to success in life. It is a path to success in life, but if somebody wants a career in tech or doing something with their hands, that's absolutely a valid way, and we don't want to stop kids and say, hey, no, you got to go do this when they don't really want to. And they could be much more successful, make very good money doing that, doing electrical work, welding, any of that kind of stuff. And I didn't add the last slide, which just says questions. Any questions? Right.
Did you happen to reach out to anybody in Lumberland, Caleb? Did you happen to reach out to anybody in Lumberland to see which way they think they were going to go?
I didn't yet. I just looked actually before I came in here because I was curious. I realized I was going to put up these things and I didn't have the equalization rates yet, so I went to look them up and saw that Lumberland still said 0.
Okay. All right, at this time we will take public comment on the budget hearing. Everybody good? All right. District report. Mrs. Fiera, Superintendent.
We'll get out of your way.
Okay. So since really 2020, we were designated as a targeted school for improvement. And that was dealing with low test scores, chronic absenteeism. So I just, want to end up this year, we did a district comprehensive improvement plan that had to go from 2020 to 21, 21 to 22, 22 and 23. So where do we stand now? Why is this not? There it goes. So again, in January of 2020, we were designated a targeted school for improvement. And it was based on a very small subgroup, and it was our 7th and 8th graders, and it was dealing with absenteeism and low ELA and math scores. We were put on this list really based on 6 kids. Which the good thing was, it garnered us funding, and we have used that funding. So what we did, we had to come up with priorities, and so for the past 2 years, we have dealt with absenteeism, and I'll touch upon that. We have revamped our RTI program, which is response to intervention. It's actually called MTSS now, which is the multi-tiered system of supports. We strengthened our K-8 literacy program, strengthened our K-8 math program. Caleb mentioned the HMH program, the math, that was it. We also worked on our communication to all the stakeholders. So we had to come up with, why did we prioritize certain things? Well, we had to prioritize chronic absenteeism because that's what the state said, you have to prioritize. And what they do is that when we say chronic absenteeism is if a child misses more than 10% of school, which basically means 18 days or more. And we know, attendance in school is directly correlated to achievement, academic achievement, social achievement, all those things that school gives us. We also had to deal with our RTI, which response to intervention is making sure when a student is struggling in the classroom, interventions are put into place. That could be AIS, which is academic intervention services. That could be for extra help in reading, extra help in math, tutoring and things like that. And RTI was very flexible with the MTSS program. We set up procedures and protocols, decision rules. When does a kid go into Tier 2? When does a kid go into Tier 3? And all of these supports, Tier 1 interventions or Tier 1 supports are in every classroom. That's teaching. That is differentiation. So we also, I put K-8 literacy. It's really K-12. But what we did is we have used Reading 180, we have done really great reading, we have incorporated units of study, writer's workshop. We've done a lot because we know literacy, reading comprehension, academic success. 2 days ago, I think, on the news it came out where students, middle school students, 8th graders, did poorly on U.S. history, government, and civics test. It was like the NAEP test. But it's directly tied to if you have gaps in reading, you're going to do poorly when they ask you reading comprehension questions, whether it's on history, science, civics, government. It's a direct correlation. So we have been working hard with literacy. We're going to continue that work, and it is literacy, reading, and writing, all of these things. And you improve reading, again, it's not just an ELA, it will carry across. Math, again, it is stressing the fundamentals of math. HMH into Math program is a strong fundamental program in the elementary school. We use it with fidelity K through 8. If they have those fundamentals, when they hit 9th grade or even 8th grade, they're taking the algebra, they're taking the geometry, they are prepared to take the SUNY Sullivan classes. So we have worked and strived with a lot of PD in that. So I did throw it off of our report card, which is just all public information. So what the colors mean, now this is 2018 and 2019. Our two colors are the blue and the red. So in 2018, 2019, pre-COVID, we have 34% of our kids at a 1 with ELA. So that's below state. And then we do see a move between 2018 to 2019 in 2s. We went from 35% to 38%. We stayed the same for 3s. We saw a dip in the 4s. We did see a dip here, 31% to 28%. Now this is pre-COVID. This is before we started really focusing on the literacy, the writing, reading, and math. Now 2020, no tests. COVID. 21, 22. Now this is last year. We did have a lot of, because this was a choice, so we did have, not all of our kids took the test. They have that right to refuse, and that's fine. But what I did like seeing is the fact of we're the blue. So when you hit grade 6, 7, 8, we're above New York State. What we do have to keep in mind, and I have to remind myself, the teachers have to remind themselves as well, we cannot crucify ourselves for grade 3, 4, and 5. They were learning how to read when we were home. Mm-hmm. So that's why you're going to this group is still catching up. Grade 6, 7, 8, they'd already learned how to read. They they still have learning loss. So math. 28, 2019, again, we are the blue and this kind of peachy red orange color. So we see a decrease, which is good, in the 1s. We see an increase in the 2s. So it might have been where a 1 became a 2, which is great. That still shows improvement. We see the same at 3s. We do see a slight increase in the 4s. A lot of times with COVID, they said, well, math wasn't as impacted as reading. It's not true. Again, math is practice, reading is practice. And so we do have learning loss, because 2020, no tests. What we have seen again, blue is district, the yellow is NY State. So again, 3, 4, and 5, you're gonna see them below the state, because they were at home. That is the fundamentals of math. We had big gains in the grade 6, 7, grade 8. We're almost tied here. But if you look, our Regents kids, because in grade 8, you can take Algebra 1 or take Math 8. If you're in Algebra 1 as an 8th grader, you cannot take that ELA test because the state looks at it as double dipping. They used to allow it, but about 2015, 2016, they said, no, you can't. So that's why you see kind of this, because we have, a small class. So we have, and if they're matching the state, then we're at level. They're meeting the 3s and 4s. And we do excel in Algebra 1 with our 8th graders. So we have made some gains. We still got some ways to go. Now the good thing is, we came off the targeted schools for improvement. We achieved our goals. We gained enough. They have now taken us off I call it the naughty list. We are now called LSI, which means Local Support and Improvement. It used to be called Good Standing, but now it's just LSI. So what does that mean? We will continue with Caleb and his budget. We are able to continue what we've set up for next year. We do not have the state looking at us. We do not have to create an improvement plan but we will still continue to create our own in-house improvement plan. We just don't have to turn it into the state. They will still give us resources, tools, professional development. They're still willing to work with us. And this year, or next year, 23-24, we will still receive $125,000. So even though we were on the naughty list, I kind of didn't mind being on the naughty list because we got lots of money for a small group of kids. So next year will be the last year we get this income. So that kind of gives us an update on where we are with not on the naughty list anymore.
Thank you, Ms. Ferrera. Any questions for her from the board? All good? This is my turn. It's always nice to go last.
Whoops.
Just real quick, like I always say every year at budget time, a no vote is an impact to the kids. It's not an impact to the 5 board members or anybody here. It's an impact to the kids. No vote will do away with certain things for the school district. But I suspect as the support we've always gotten in the past from this town and community, I'm sure this will go through with flying colors, which is a good thing. And we want everybody to come out and vote and support us. At this time, I will take public comment on the consent agenda items only. Alrighty. At this time, I'll take a motion to approve consent items 6.01 through 9.03. Second?
I'll second.
Motion by Nancy, second by Stacy. Any discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alrighty. Rules and qualifications of voters. The board president or designee will review the meeting rules of the order and the qualifications of voters. Voting will take place by in-person on Tuesday, May 16th, 2023 at the Eldred Junior Senior High School in Eldred, New York. Closing the vote is at 9 p.m. Qualification for voting: must be a citizen of the United States, must be 18 years of age or over, must be a resident of the school district for 30 days or more preceding date of the vote. The custodian inspectors of the vote will oversee the voting. The custodian inspectors will verify all hand-counted results of the voting. Notice is hereby given that the public hearing of the qualified voters of Eldred Central School District, a school district of the state of New York located in the counties of Orange and Sullivan, will be held at the Eldred Central Junior Senior High School in the Eldred Central School District on May 4th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Prevailing time for the presentation of the proposed budget for the following school year. The budget will be available for review no later than May 3rd, 2023, and thereafter at both school buildings and the school district office. Notice is further given that the annual meeting of the qualified voters of the school district will be held at the Eldred Junior Senior High School, Eldred, New York on May 16th, 2023, closing at 9 p.m. Proposition 1, shall the following resolution be adopted? Resolved that the annual budget of the Eldred Central School District for the fiscal year 2023-2024 is hereby adopted, and requested portion thereof to be raised by taxation on the taxable property of the school district is hereby authorized $19,509,716 to levy tax thereof. Proposition 2, shall following resolution be adopted? Resolved that the Board of Education of Eldred Central School District is hereby authorized a levy tax annual in the amount of $36,600 for the fiscal year 2023-2024, and pay other such monies to the Board of Trustees on the Sunshine Hall Library, free library. Shall the following resolution be approved? The Board of Education of Eldred Central School District hereby adopts the beginning the 2023 board seat member terms to be effective with the election held in 2023, and the proposition passes. One seat will remain unchanged from a 5-year term. Seat 1, each election thereafter, one seat will change from a 5-year term to a 4-year term until 4 seats have been changed to the 4-year terms, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Resolved that the Board of Education of Eldred Central School District, Sullivan County, be authorized to fill the positions of those whose terms will expire. A term of office begins as provided by the law, continues until a successor is elected and qualified. The terms will continue as other successors are elected and qualified their seats. One seat for 5-year term, known as seat 1, election term expires June 30th, 2023. 4 seats for 4-year term, known seats 2, 3, 4, and 5, election term seats that will expire June 30th, 2024, 2025, 2026, and 2027 respectively. Election of the Board of Education member. The qualified voters of the Eldred Central School District are authorized to elect one candidate as a member of the Board of Education to serve 5-year term beginning July 1st, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2028. Voters may select one candidate or submit a name on the line for a write-in on the ballot. I love this portion of the meeting. I'll take public comment on anybody who wants to talk about something. Anybody got any questions, want to talk about anything that's on their mind? All good? Announcements. Next meeting will be held at the Junior Senior High School Tuesday, May 16, 2023 from 11 a.m. through 9 p.m. Budget vote and school board election, certification of the election after all ballots have been counted. Thanks for coming. That's when the next meeting will be. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second? Motion by Stacy, second by Nancy.